My name is Sarah Brooks. I'm 23 years old. On the morning of my college graduation, I stood alone at a bus stop, dressed in my cap and gown. The fabric scratched against my skin, stiff and uncomfortable. And the cheap cardboard cap kept slipping no matter how many times I adjusted it. It was a bright, golden morning in Charleston, the kind of day that should feel like a fresh beginning. But for me, it felt hollow. Just down the street, in the driveway of our family home, a completely different kind of celebration was happening. My parents, Evelyn and Richard, were standing beside my younger sister, Chloe, and in front of them sat a brand new pearl-white Tesla. The sunlight reflected off its polished surface, the chrome handles gleaming like something out of a commercial. A massive red ribbon stretched across the hood, dramatic and perfect. My mother was crying real tears, the kind that came from overwhelming joy. She wrapped Chloe in a tight embrace. "Oh, my sweet girl," she whispered, loud enough for me to hear from across the street. "You deserve everything." My father stood beside them, smiling with pride, his posture straight and confident. He placed a hand on Chloe's shoulder, his watch flashing in the sunlight. "The safest car on the road for our daughter," he announced proudly. Chloe laughed, jumping in excitement, her designer dress flowing around her. She looked radiant, effortless, celebrated. She had just finished high school, and me, I had just completed 4 grueling years of college working 3 jobs, surviving on barely any sleep, pushing myself to the limit just to make it to this day. And my graduation ceremony was a 45-minute bus ride away. No one asked how I was getting there. No one even looked at me. I stood there like I didn't exist, like I was invisible, like I was just background noise in someone else's perfect family moment. Then the bus pulled up. The brakes hissed as the doors slowly opened, letting out a tired, mechanical sigh. I stepped inside, handed over a wrinkled dollar bill, and moved toward a seat by the window. As the bus pulled away, I turned my head and looked back. They were still there, still smiling, still laughing, still taking pictures in front of that car. They didn't notice I had left. That bus ride, it was quiet, almost too quiet. The sticky seat beneath me, the low hum of the engine, the unfamiliar faces around me, it all felt more real than the family I had just walked away from. I stared out the window as the city blurred into streaks of color, and somewhere in that silence, I made a promise to myself. Not loud, not emotional, just cold, solid, final. This feeling, this invisibility would end. Their favoritism would not define who I become. And one day, I swore, they would drive for hours, maybe even across states, just to see my name somewhere they never believed it would be, a place they could never ignore again. Before we continue, take a moment to subscribe to the channel, but only if you truly believe that everyone has their own worth, and no one has the right to belittle it. I'd really love to know where you're listening from, and what time it is there right now. I'm curious to see just how far this story will reach. This story is fictional, inspired by real-life situations. It's been enhanced with the help of AI to make it more vivid. But every emotion you hear is genuine and deeply felt. Now, let me take you back and show you how it all really began. Growing up in our home in Charleston felt like living inside a perfectly curated showroom where my sister was the centerpiece, and I was just a label no one stopped to read. The house itself was stunning, a large coastal-style home with white columns, wide windows, and a wraparound porch where my mother and Chloe would sit in the evenings, their laughter floating through the humid air. Inside, every wall told Chloe's story. Photos of Chloe as a baby, Chloe's first steps, Chloe smiling on my father's shoulders at a football game. Chloe crowned as homecoming queen, sparkling under bright lights. There was only one photo of me, a small frame, barely noticeable, tucked behind a much larger picture of Chloe riding a horse. In it, I looked about 7 years old, standing slightly off to the side in a plain blue dress, as if even in the photo I already knew where I belonged. I understood what it meant long before I could explain it. My father, Richard Brooks, was a man who saw the world in numbers, value, and return. A successful property investor. He evaluated everything the same way, even his own family. To him, Chloe was a perfect investment. She was beautiful, outgoing, effortlessly charming, the kind of person who lit up a room without even trying. He poured everything into her. Private dance lessons, a personal trainer, expensive clothes that cost more than my entire semester of textbooks. His love wasn't unconditional, it was strategic. He gave her everything, and in return, she became the daughter who made him look successful. Every evening when he walked through the door, the first thing he would ask was always the same. "Where's my girl?" He never meant me. I was the opposite of Chloe in every way. Quiet where she was vibrant, focused where she was carefree. And in my father's eyes, my independence wasn't something to be proud of. It was proof that I didn't need anything from him. My good grades were expected. Nothing more than meeting a standard. I remember one night when I was 15. I had just been accepted into a highly competitive summer science program at Stanford. I sat at the dinner table, waiting for the right moment. My heart pounding. "I got accepted into the Stanford program," I said, trying to sound calm. My father glanced up briefly from his plate. "The science thing. Good. That'll look strong on your college applications." And that was it. He turned back to Chloe. "So, have you decided on a dress for the spring gala? Your mother and I were thinking we should take you shopping this weekend." Just like that. The moment was gone. My achievement dissolved into the background, like it had never mattered at all. My mother, Evelyn, operated differently. She didn't deal in money or status. She dealt in attention. And somehow, she had none left for me. Chloe was her entire world. She managed her schedule, helped with every project, stayed up late talking through her problems, celebrating every small win like it was monumental. They were inseparable. And I was always just outside that circle. I tried. Though, I really did. One Saturday, I found her in the garden, carefully trimming her roses. I had been reading a book I loved. And for once, I wanted to share something personal. "Mom," I began. "I'm reading this story and the main character reminds me of..." She didn't even look up. "That's nice, sweetheart," she said softly. "But can you go start the laundry? Chloe has a big competition tonight and her outfit isn't ready yet. We're in a bit of a rush." Her tone was gentle, kind, even, but the meaning was unmistakable. Chloe's needs were urgent. Mine could wait. I nodded and walked back inside, the words I had wanted to say fading away before I ever got the chance to finish them. Holidays made it even clearer. Christmas in our house felt like a performance designed entirely for Chloe. One year, my father surprised her with a horse, an actual horse, boarded at a nearby stable. She screamed with excitement, throwing her arms around him as the rest of the morning turned into a celebration of her happiness. Gift after gift. Laughter after laughter. And me, I unwrapped a set of academic books and a new desk lamp. "To help you keep up your studies," my father said with a satisfied nod. It wasn't cruel, it was practical. But it said everything. Chloe was meant to be adored. I was meant to work. The moment that defined everything happened when I was in 8th grade. I had spent 3 months building a project for the state science fair, a solar-powered water desalination system. I poured everything into it, every afternoon, every weekend, every ounce of focus I had. And when I finally finished it, I truly believed, for the first time, that maybe this would be enough to make them see me. I gave everything I had to that project. Weekends disappeared in the garage, my hands busy soldering tiny wires, adjusting tubes, testing and retesting until everything worked perfectly. I burned my fingers more than once. I stayed up late with physics textbooks spread across my bed, forcing myself to understand every detail. That project became more than just a school assignment. It became proof. Proof that I was worth noticing. So when they called my name for first place at the state level, the feeling hit me like a wave. My chest tightened. My vision blurred for a second, and I remember thinking, this is it. This is the moment everything changes. I carried that oversized trophy all the way home, replaying the applause in my mind, imagining my parents' faces when they saw it. But when I walked through the front door, I found them in the living room, completely absorbed in Chloe. She was standing in the middle of the room, practicing lines for a school play. 3 lines. That was her entire role. My mother sat on the couch, coaching her gently. My father leaned against the wall, watching with quiet focus. I stepped closer, lifting the trophy slightly. I won, I said, unable to hide the excitement in my voice. My mother glanced at me briefly, offering a soft smile. That's wonderful. Sarah, really, she said. But can you keep your voice down for a second? Chloe's trying to concentrate. My father looked at the trophy for a moment. State level, he said. Impressive? Richard Brooks's daughter. The scientist. His tone was flat, distant, like he was commenting on something he had read in the newspaper about someone else. There was no hug, no questions, no pride. The weight of the trophy in my hands suddenly felt ridiculous. I nodded quietly and walked to my room, placing it on my desk. It didn't feel like an achievement anymore. It felt like a reminder that no matter how hard I tried, it would never be enough. A few days later, Chloe stood on stage and delivered her 3 lines perfectly. My parents were on their feet before anyone else, clapping, cheering, smiling like she had just won an award. That night, we went out for ice cream to celebrate her performance, and that was when it finally became clear. It was never about what was accomplished. It was about who accomplished it. For a while, I tried to change. I tried to be more like Chloe. I forced myself to be louder, more outgoing, more effortless. I practiced smiling more, talking more, fitting into a version of myself that I thought they might finally accept. But it never felt right. It felt like wearing something that didn't belong to me, tight, uncomfortable, wrong. And they noticed. Don't try so hard. Sarah, my mother once told me gently, just be yourself. What she didn't realize was that I had never been given another option. I became the quiet one, the independent one, the one who didn't ask for help because she already knew the answer. No. That independence wasn't strength. It was something that had been carved into me over time, a scar I learned to live with. By the time I reached my final year of college, my life had turned into a blur of exhaustion. The last week felt like I was sprinting through the final stretch of a marathon I had been running for 4 years. My world shrank down to 3 places: the library, my dorm room, and the harsh, fluorescent-lit buildings where I took my final exams. Every day was a careful balancing act. Studying, finishing my thesis, working the last of my overnight shifts with campus security. I was constantly tired, but underneath all of it, something new was growing. Hope. A quiet, fragile hope. Because this wasn't just the end of college, it was my way out. I had marked the date on my calendar months in advance. Saturday, May 17th. Graduation day. In my mind, it had become something almost unreal, something important enough to finally matter. This time, they wouldn't be able to ignore it. This wasn't a small trophy or a side achievement. This was a degree, with honors, something real, something undeniable. And for the first time in my life, I truly believed they would have no choice but to see me. It felt real, solid, something no one could brush aside this time. I had spent so many nights imagining it. I could see them sitting in the audience. My father with that familiar, serious expression, but with a quiet pride hidden behind it. My mother dabbing at her eyes, pretending she wasn't emotional. Afterward, we would go out to celebrate. A proper lunch at a nice restaurant, the kind of place we only ever went to for Chloe. I pictured raising a glass, giving a small, graceful speech, and for once, everyone would actually listen. That image lived so clearly in my mind that it almost felt like it had already happened. It was that vision that carried me through everything. The sleepless nights, the stress, the constant pressure, the night before my final exam. I gave myself a break and walked to a small boutique near campus. I spent the last $70 I had on a simple blue dress. Nothing flashy, just clean, elegant, and quietly confident. When I brought it back to my dorm and held it up in front of the mirror, it felt like more than fabric. It felt like the future, the version of me I had fought so hard to become. The next day, when I walked out of my last exam into the warm May sunlight, the relief was overwhelming. I had done it. After everything, I had actually made it. I almost felt weightless walking back to my dorm, like something heavy had finally lifted off my shoulders. I couldn't wait to tell them. I sat on my bed, took a deep breath, and called my mom. "Hi, Mom," I said, smiling without even realizing it. "I'm done. My last final is over, and I passed everything. I just wanted to go over the plans for Saturday." "Oh, hi, sweetheart," she replied casually. I could hear the faint clinking of dishes in the background, like she was out to lunch somewhere. "That's great news. We knew you would. What plans were those again for a second?" I thought I had misheard her. "My graduation," I said, my voice softening. "The ceremony is at 10. I sent the tickets and parking pass last month. I was thinking we could all go out to lunch after. My treat." I added that quickly. I didn't want this to sound like I needed anything from them. I just wanted them there. There was a pause. A long one. I could hear her speaking quietly to someone else. My father. Most likely, when she came back. Her tone had shifted. Softer. Careful. "Oh, honey. About Saturday." My stomach tightened instantly. "I'm afraid something's come up. We're not going to be able to make it." Everything inside me went still. What I whispered. "What do you mean you can't make it? What could be more important than my graduation?" There was a brief shuffle, and then my father's voice came through, sharp and direct. "Sarah, your mother is right. We won't be there. Chloe's graduation gift is being delivered that morning. It's a strict schedule. We need to be present to receive it." I blinked, trying to process what he was saying. "Her graduation gift," I repeated slowly. "Her graduation isn't for another 2 weeks." "What are you talking about?" I asked, my voice barely steady. "It's a car, Sarah," my father replied. impatience slipping into his tone, like I was asking something obvious. A Tesla. It's a major gift for a major milestone. The delivery is coming from out of state, and Saturday is the only available slot. We don't have a choice. We don't have a choice. The words echoed in my head, hollow and absurd. I pictured them weighing the decision, carefully choosing between their daughter's once-in-a-lifetime college graduation and the arrival of a car. The image was so ridiculous it almost didn't feel real. Then my mother's voice came back, soft and sympathetic in a way that somehow made it worse. You know how Chloe is, sweetheart. She's been so excited about this. It means everything to her. Finishing high school is such a big moment, and we think it's really important to be there for things like that. You understand, don't you? No, I didn't understand. I couldn't understand how something I had worked for, fought for, sacrificed for, could be so easily dismissed. All those nights without sleep, all the jobs, all the pressure I carried alone, and they were choosing not to come. For a car. For Chloe. So, you're just not coming? I asked. And I hated how my voice cracked at the end. Don't be so dramatic. Sarah, my mother said gently, it's just the ceremony. All that formality for a piece of paper. The important thing is that you earned your degree. And we are very proud of you. Proud. The word felt empty. You've always been so independent. She continued. You'll be fine. Just take the bus or call a ride. You always figure things out. There it was. The truth of how they saw me, wrapped up in a few simple sentences. I was the one who didn't need anything. The one who would handle it. The one who didn't matter enough to show up for